Well, welcome to Rotary. We're happy to have you here today. So I get to introduce the speaker today. I know him well. I've known him for many years. Most of the time he's a nice guy. He works hard. I could have Aaron give us a character reference, but since I'm the speaker, I'll give my own character reference. So I had a chance to go twice now with LDS Charities and do humanitarian service projects with them. I went once to Swaziland and did the Helping Babies Breathe program. And then this last year I went to Moldova and did an ALSO course. ALSO stands for Advanced Life Supportive Obstetrics. It's based on the same premise that the American Heart Association has for the advanced cardiac life support, where you drill certain emergencies that don't happen that often so that they become more of a second nature and have pathways of doing things. And so LDS Charities, one of their things that they do is that they teach people how to do things and let them propagate the program. So they won't do a program unless it's available for the countrymen there to take that and propagate it and continue to teach it. So we did what's called a Train the Trainer program, where we taught physicians and nurse midwives the Advanced Life Support Obstetrics course, which is a course that's done by the American Academy of Family Practice. It's a formal course, has a pre-test, learning objectives, has modules, a post-test, and when you finish, then you get a certificate that says you've finished that. And then these people who took our course will go out through Moldova to the different areas and teach that course. We left all of the training materials. We had the dolls that we delivered with and all of the equipment that you need to teach the course. We left with them there so that they could each take them out to the different hospitals and teach. So it'll be, in a year, they'll go back and do a follow-up and make sure that they've implemented that. LDS Charities also has to have a LDS humanitarian couple on the ground where a project is done. So that couple then is the liaison and does the follow-up with the project. So they have a project coordinator here in the US, and Dr. Robert Clark and his wife Ann were the project coordinators for the Moldova experience. And they go over and meet with the humanitarian couple and then go to the hospitals and assess the need. And if the need's there, then they'll set up, and it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 years to set up a program to go over and have everything in place. Sometimes there's government ministries you have to go through depending on whether the health is under the government or whether it's private. And so it takes a long time to get through all of the red tape to be able to do that. So Rob was the project coordinator for our Moldova trip, and he's taking a trip to China in the fall time, and I'm going to go with him again and teach another ALSO course there. So LDS Charities, their goal is to strengthen families around the world without regard to religion, race, or nationality. And that was one of the things that while we're there, we do no proselyting. It's not done with the idea that whoever takes our course will know that we're LDS Charities and that they should become Christians if they're not, or that they should convert, or that they have to do that in order to receive the help from the charities. It is without regard to religion, race, or nationality with the different aspects that they do. And it's based on, the humanitarian work is based on a desire to follow the example of Jesus Christ in relieving suffering, lifting burdens, and providing hope. And so in anticipation of that, again, they're looking, the humanitarian couples that are all around the world, they're looking for projects that fit within the 6 areas that LDS Charities has chosen to make a difference around the world. Since 1985, the LDS Church has provided $1.89 billion in assistance in 189 countries. So that's the scope of the charities. I had really no idea it was that extensive. This was the slides tonight are from a fireside that we did in Moldova, and one of the people that was with us did an LDS Charities fireside for the church members in Moldova, which has a small branch where we were at. to let them know some of the things that are happening in their country and how the church, even though they're small, is reaching out to their fellow countrymen and helping things. So that money has come from individual donations, and 100% of that donation goes to the humanitarian programs. There's no overhead taken from that. So it's one of the unusual humanitarian projects in the relation to that. Rotary International is one of the top also. I think there's about a 10% cost to run the Rotary Foundation. So LDS Charities and Rotary Foundations are some of the top foundations across the world. Now, the LDS Charities is not set up to do some of the things that need to be done, so they partner with other non-governmental organizations or NGOs that have a track record and share their philosophy that it's not a handout, it's a lift up. And so they work with UNICEF, International Red Cross, the UN Refugee Agency, the World Food Program, Catholic Relief Services, Faith Action Results. So if an NGO has a good reputation of being able to work in the local community and has the ability to take the things that we have and distribute them, and their distribution is a good way of doing that, then they'll partner together to be able to make things work.
What does NGO stand for?
Non-governmental organization.
I did not know.
Yeah, so NGO, so in many countries, the government runs everything. And so if you're going to get into something, you have to go through the minister of this or the minister of that. And so the non-government, and so they're looking for, many of the government people are looking for handouts in the sense that they take a cut of it.
Okay.
And so certain NGOs are in countries and have established a reputation where there's not that graft or that type of skimming off the top, and so the church finds those and works with those. LDS Charities does. Yeah, here I can read it from here.
I saw those 4 lines.
It says, through LDS Charities, the Church of Jesus Christ provides humanitarian and worldwide without regard to race, religion, or ethnic origin. In cooperation with government ministries, non-governmental organizations, and local community-based organizations, LDS Charities seeks to relieve suffering, foster self-reliance, and encourage communities to help each other. LDS Charities has the guiding principles of these 4 things, which you can barely see there. Participation in work, so beneficiaries finding solutions that are local for themselves. Volunteer service, local community members helping each other. Strengthening others, increasing knowledge, skills, and capacity, and leading to self-reliance. And local solutions, they use whenever possible local technology, labor resources, oversight, and vendors. So a lot of the water projects they do, they will actually hire someone local to help oversee that, and then they bring the community in so that they take ownership of it. So a lot of times, non-governmental organizations would come in and say, we'll put a well in here for you, and then they don't train anybody or they don't use their help, and then the well breaks down, and then the people call them and say, well, come and fix your well. Versus them saying, this is our well, what do we have to do to maintain it? How do we do that? And so that's one of the guiding principles that they use.
We need that in Moldova. There are a lot of graft, and a lot of communism in Moldova.
Well, yes, Moldova was part of the, yes, so the question was, do we need that in Moldova? Is there a lot of graft where things are skimmed off the top? And Moldova is a country that was independent and taken over, then became part of the Soviet bloc, and then became independent again in the 80s. And so there is certainly still some of that's there. Now, these are the type of projects. This was in Moldova itself. So we were there doing this fireside for the Moldovan people. And so since 1992 to 2017, there's been 42 water projects: wells, pumps, towers, distribution lines, showers and bathrooms, community water committees formed. I'll show you that each city has a city well where people can go get water. They have water to their house, but it costs money to run the electricity. So most of them still go to the community well and get their water because they don't have the money to pay for the electric bill. They've done 13 vision projects with eye surgery, screening equipment and training, help with schools for the blind. 22 health or maternal neonatal projects, 4 neonatal training, the also training we did, with 3,681 doctors, nurses, and midwives receiving training, medical supplies, and health fairs. They've had 18 wheelchair projects with 8,513 beneficiaries, 89 school assistant projects, books, kitchen equipment, desk, tables, repair, school kits, 113 social assistance projects, clothes, shoes, boots, quilts, etc. This is where, right here with sewing machines, where Pat was thinking, if we could coordinate with LDS Charities that in that country where this lady that she met was from, if there's a humanitarian couple there, that we could possibly partner with LDS Charities and Rotary together and combine those and be able to do a sewing machine project. If we can, assuming that there are 2 things would have to happen. The lady that she met, and I can't remember which country she's from in Africa, but they have to have a Rotary Club, and LDS Charities has to have a humanitarian couple that's in charge of that area, and we could maybe get those 2 together. We could spearhead a project where we could do that. So here are some pictures of the projects that were done. So the village, before the tower and after it was fixed, a lot of the wells they had gone dry or had gone, were not working, and so again they worked with the community to have people to take care of them and to maintain them, and rather than just go in and fix the well. So here, this is the country of Moldova. So just so you know where we're at here, Romania's on this side, Ukraine's up here. And so it's this little country right there in the middle of Central Europe. And the LDS Church itself, it's not very big. The branch we were at, which was in Chisinau, which is here, which is their capital, there were maybe 20 people at church. And so they had no idea that the LDS Charities had done all of this in Moldova as part of their commitment to relieve suffering and help. So these are some of the things that LDS Charities has done. So immunizations is one of theirs. They've had 7 campaigns to eliminate diseases in 6 countries. That was in 2016. And they've contributed quite a bit of money to the Rotary Foundation, actually. For a while, the LDS Church had a matching program where if you put money in to the Polio Plus program, the church would match that. LDS Charities would match that, so that your $5 went to $10 to be able to eradicate polio. So in LDS Charities as a whole, in 2016, there were 1,848 projects in 107 countries. And these are some of the community projects that were done in Moldova itself. So the humanitarian couple, while they're there, they're looking for ways to relieve suffering. So when you see things like 120 shoes for 122 children in a boarding school, an ultrasound or sonogram machine for an oncology hospital, clothes and seeds for a retirement center, those are things that they're out looking for as a humanitarian couple and saying, how can we help? And as they're meeting with local people, the people may say, well, we really could use this, and then they go evaluate the project and see whether it's something that meets the criteria of what LDS Charities does and how they can help with that. So here is the wheelchair distribution. In 2016, there were 50,500 wheelchairs distributed. You know, when you think of the Helping Babies Breathe program we do, if you have a baby that is paralyzed or ends up with cerebral palsy or something along those lines, because you don't have the resources to take care of things, they're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of their life. And the wheelchairs, you don't realize that they're life-saving. The humanitarian couple there in Moldova told us a story of one wheelchair that they did. Unfortunately, this person, the lady, lived on the 3rd floor with no elevators. They have no elevators there. And so she was basically stuck on that 3rd floor. No way of going anywhere. And when they got the wheelchair, the first one they had was too heavy, so they had to go back and get a lightweight wheelchair that then her family and neighbors could bring her up and down these 3 flights. And then once she was down, she could go because she had her upper extremities and she could take the wheelchair around. And it just opened up the world for her, because before that she never left her apartment, ever. So the wheelchair projects are really a way of relieving suffering. And then we had 119 projects in 49 countries with the emergency response. It's getting pretty well known that the Yellow Helping Hands shirts belong to the LDS Church. We, obviously you can see President Uchtdorf there on the bottom, but we were involved in many of the places around the world as LDS Charities. And then Vision Care, in 2016, there were 90,000 people helped in 37 countries. So a lot of that's glasses, but a lot of it's surgeries also will go in. They have no way of getting a cataract taken out. I mean, we don't think about our older population, and I include myself in that older population, as my classmates from school are starting to get cataracts taken care of. And before that, you just didn't see. If you have a cataract, you just didn't see. And we don't think about that because the cataract's taken out and you get the lens put in, it's done as same-day surgery, and some people don't even know that it's happened because it's so common. But in other countries where they have no access, a cataract means you don't see. You don't read, you don't drive, you don't do anything like that. So going in and relieving suffering like that is a big thing. We had 488 projects in 54 countries in 2016 for refugee crisis. And then the Benson Food Initiative. So BYU has a place called the Benson Institute, which is their agronomy section at BYU, and they set that up to be able to, initially to start in South America, to help them increase yields and to help farmers be able to feed countries. And now they're now in 12 countries in 2016, 160,000 people. So again, they're going and helping them not only be self-provident, but increase their yields and to do sustainable gardens and sustainable agriculture so that they can feed themselves. In 2016, there were 37 countries that we trained 33,000 caregivers with the Helping Babies Breathe and the also training, and then the Train the Trainer program as part of that for the maternal and children portion of the LDS Charities. So their guiding principles are, again, relieve suffering. We're all connected and have the responsibility to care for those in need, provide opportunities to serve. Through volunteerism, both those who give service and those who receive service benefit. Inspire self-reliance in helping them solve current problems and future challenges and lift individuals as they go around. So as we look at what the LDS Charities is, when you think of their 6 areas of emphasis, they follow what the Savior did, was to help the lame to walk, the blind to see, the living water, healing the sick, loving the children. And President Monson said we have a responsibility to extend help as well as hope to the hungry, to the homeless, to the downtrodden, both home and abroad. And again, LDS Charities does this without regard to race, religion, or ethnicity. Just show you some fun pictures. Everywhere we go, they love food, and they love to show us their food. So these plates were this is a pickled watermelon up there at the top, and you just get to enjoy the things they have and the things that they do, and it's just fun to do. So I'm just going to run through these real quickly. Moldova has two economies. They have an economy where the regular folk go, and they and then they have an economy where that's in the big hotels, and you go out to nice restaurants, and it's just this dichotomy. There's not much of a middle class there. And so this is a cheese factory here, where a big market where they were making cheese, and you could go in. They had in the market the scales, and you just went, and this is the outdoor market here. Those are eggs. That's where you buy your eggs. All these are just in little stalls that you do. This is a meat market. There are the fish. You can buy the live fish there with the carp. And there they are jumping around. That's all fish and seafood. Here's all the vegetables in the market. I don't know how they sold all these. It was just filled and hard to believe. Anything you wanted there was in the market. If you want your lingerie, they had a little place right there. You could buy that. You bought your it was like a supermarket. It was like Macy's, except just out in the open with all these little markets there. This was the electronics with all the cords and the phones, and you know, she's there selling her little stuff. And then you've got the big government building that looks nice and beautiful, and then you've got the churches that are left over from many years past. Russian Orthodox is much of what they have. She was one of the doctors we taught. They make about $200 a month. They can barely live. And so her husband is an engineer, and together they do okay together. This is the first primary program they ever did in Moldova. You can't hear it, they're singing. It was just so cute. I mean, it's just like the missionary lady who was there that helped, she set it up, but it's the first primary program that's ever been done in Moldova that they're aware of. This is the hospital, one of the hospitals we went to. You can see this was out in the country. There's no money to keep up the paint on the outside and the things they do with that. But they do have nice murals. This was the pediatric thing with that. Here's this is from UNICEF. It's probably 15 years old, and they've got anything that we bring and leave with charts and stuff. They leave up and they use. This is this lady right here is in labor. She allowed us to come in and see what the room was like and what was going to happen. It's pretty Spartan there. And they were really proud of their equipment. They take excellent care of it. Their equipment's probably 10 or 15 years older than ours, but well taken care of, and they do an excellent job with what they do. Now, right here is a horse and buggy. You see that on the road? They can't afford, they have a car, but they can't afford the gasoline, so they still take their horse and buggy out to do their farming work and bring the stuff back in with the horse and buggy. And they'll put their cans in there for the water and go to the city well to get their water, so they don't have to turn their electricity on to. And in the midst of that, you've got these beautiful, and they do graffiti there just like they do here. This was the washing station before you went into surgery, with a pan and the hydrogen peroxide. That was right before their surgery room. There's the surgery room right there. Dr. Clark was going in to look at the equipment and see. But look at the windows. I mean, you think of sterility and of what we have and how we keep things there, and it's the open windows. So anyway, that's the trip. Wow. So thanks for your attention, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do about doing some international or local service projects that we can do things like this and maybe partner with some. So, okay, thank you.